Good evening and welcome to Live Irish Myths. I'm Anthony Murphy of Mythical Ireland. Welcome back. This is episode 107. I hope you are all keeping in the best of form and that you're keeping safe and well throughout the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak and the situation around the world. Delighted to have you back this evening. You may notice in the background there's been a little bit of a change. We got the shelves in finally and things have been rearranged a little bit, so you will notice that. And a big change from last week when the room was nearly empty and all the books had been moved away and there was a significant echo in the place. Anyway, hope everybody's well. You're all very welcome along. Tonight we're talking, in the first of two episodes, we're going to deal with a story called Táin Bó Fraích, which is one of the many stories about cattle raids. And I read it a few weeks ago for the first time ever and was fascinated by some of the details. I hope to share some of that excitement with you. In the meantime, a very good evening on YouTube to Erica Bow, who's the first of the commenters this afternoon. Hello, Erica. Welcome back to Live Irish Myths. Hope you are well. Daisy Peter says, Céad Míle Fáilte, my dearest Tua de MythFlix, a very beautiful and blessed Friends Day from me and from Brazil. Brilliant stuff, Daisy. Welcome along. Archaeoastronomy Database says, greetings one and all. Secure your enclosures because it's time for a cattle raid. Absolutely. Roy Cervino says, hello from Galicia. Hello, indeed. Good evening. Sandrine Brady even says, bonsoir, Anthony and La Tua. Hope everyone is fine. Beautiful and warm weather here in France. Looking forward to an episode. I love cows. Bonsoir, Sandrine. Ça va. Hope you're well. Mandy McCurl is saying, hello, everyone. Hope you're all healthy and happy. Delighted to be joining our Two of the MythFlix from a breezy Isle of Mull. Breezy, brilliant stuff. Well, look, if it's not raining, that's always a bonus, Mandy. But welcome along. It's great to see you again. Debbie Daly says, hi, dear Tua. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Well, I can only speak for myself, but certainly I'm in fine fettle, Debbie. After a very, very, very busy 7, 8, 9, 10 days. But anyway, it is all fine and dandy on this side. Jackie Stevenson says, hello, Anthony and the wonderful MythFlix Tua. Glad to be back for another episode from sunny and hot Southern California. Brilliant stuff. Tronanawa, Giorich, Jackie, you're welcome along. Maureen O'Leary says, good afternoon, Anthony and Tua, from northwest Minnesota, where nights are so dark. I saw Comet Neowise with my own eyes last night. Brilliant stuff. Hope you're all enjoying views of the comet if you have them. I certainly have been. Stephen Walker says, hello from Atlanta, Georgia. Shelves look great. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, job well done, I have to say. The Full Irish GK says, Fáilte, good evening all. Soft day on the sod. It's beautiful here. It's sunny. It's a lovely, warm, sunny evening. There's been a mixture of cloud today. Very special night last night after a beautiful sunset and an extended twilight. We went out comet watching in the garden and it was fantastic. Debbie Daly also says the bookcases and books look beautiful. Thank you, Debbie. EPT says good morning all the way from over in Kells. Well, good evening from Drogheda to Kells, only a stone's throw across the way. Kendall says, tuning in from the Oregon coast. Hello, Kendall. You're very welcome along. And on Facebook. Oh, this is going to be fun. Paula Snow Queen says, bookcases. Hello, Paula. Erin Durrett is watching. Paula Snow Queen is also waving. Hello, Herbert Bennett says, looks great. Thanks, Herbert. Welcome along to Live Irish Myths. Megan Walters says, hello, Giogich, Megan. Jim Conway says, good evening. I have missed your smile. What about the wicked laugh, Jim? It's very nice to see you. And of course, I saw the celebrations for AE, which is wonderful. Brilliant stuff. Barbara Barney says, hi, Anthony. And hi, everyone. Hello, Barbara. You're welcome along to Choch Warku for the latest in the long-running saga. Tom King is watching. Hello, Tom. Good evening to you. Julie King is watching and says, hi, Anthony and the Tua. Hope you're all well, all in fine form. Kaylee During says, good evening, Anthony. Hope you're doing well. Your shelves look amazing. Should I just do that? Yeah, I'm very, very happy, to be honest. Yeah, very happy. Kristen Gray Taggart says, whoa, look at the awesome shelves. Giorgivol. Hello, Kristen. Great to see you. Michael Naylor. Mike and Jeanette are in a very hot New Jersey. Last time I was in Princeton, it felt really Irish, actually. It was a cold, rainy day, the last day I was there. But the weather was good by and large when we were there. But anyway, it's summertime now. Alex Casterton says, hello, Anthony, and the Tua library looks incredible. Hello, Alex. Welcome back. Barbara Kling says, hello, Anthony and everyone. Good to see you all. Yes, indeed. It's very nice to have you along, Barbara. Welcome to MythFlix. Alwyn Roy Badziak says, lovely bookcases. I suspect that's going to be the center of attention for the comments tonight, but that's okay. That's all right. Jennifer Foley says, hello, everyone. Library looks awesome. Yeah, there's presses you see at the bottom, but just beneath where the shelves are there are presses where all my files are stored out of sight now, and it doesn't look nearly as messy as it used to do. So thank you, Jennifer. Ralph Waldron says, Táin Lárna Áirish, good evening. Hello, Ralph. Tróna Wa. Aaron Durrett says, hello, dear Anthony and Tua. Whoa, awesome shelves. Really, a proper library. Thanks, Aaron. Welcome along. Jacinta Paisley says, hi, Anthony. And all looking good with the new library. Yes, indeed. Thank you. And welcome, Jacinta Sláinte. Jules Cousin says, hello, decorating. Looks great. Hi, Jules. Banachti. Larissa Kama says, hello, Anthony and Tua. Greetings from sunny and chaotic Portland, Oregon. I'm so happy to be here with all you fine folks, and we are glad to have your company, Larissa. Elaine Dent Lingenfelter says, hello, Anthony, from deep in the heart of Texas. Hello, indeed, to Elaine and all our Texan friends. Nick Eska Casterton says, hi, Anthony, like the new bookshelves. Very nice. Hello, Tua. Hi, Nick, and welcome along. Thank you. Nolan Proctor says, hi, Anthony and the Tua. Hello, Nolan. Welcome along. Welcome back. Trina New York says, oh, wow, the books are back and it looks great. Hello, lovely Tua. Yes, indeed. Hello, Trina. Welcome along. Melanie Lynn says, hello, Anthony and the Tua. Fáilte, Melanie. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Neil Hughes says, Tróna Anthony from Mary and Neil in Coatbridge, Scotland. Tea and wine at the ready. Well, that just sounds like that's not a combination because it's tea for Mary and it's wine for you. But it sounds nice anyway. Edina Sparks says, hello, Anthony and all the Tua. Awesome bookshelves, Anthony. Thanks, Edina, and welcome to the latest edition of Live Irish Myths. Larissa Kama says, oh, love the new shelves. Thank you indeed. Patricia McAteer is watching. Hello. ArchDB wants to know how high do the shelves go. I'm just trying to see where you are. So, So where those books are there's another shelf above that. They're basically all the way up to the ceiling. I needed the space because I have this habit of buying books. As you know, I've been encouraging one or two of you to buy some books, and I ran out of space with the old shelving, so they needed expansion. Raymond Lawson says, hello from San Francisco. Hello, Raymond. Good evening to you from sunny Ireland. Anne McCallum says, great looking bookcase. Thank you, Anthony, for all the amazing and beautiful photographs of Comet Neowise. Experiencing vicariously through your generous sharing has become a wonderful habit. Yeah, I have to say, being a lifelong astronomer, I have found Neowise, especially now that I have decent camera equipment as well, I have found it a very pleasurable experience. The only thing is, because it's a summertime, middle of the night comet, it requires a bit of dedication. The first night we were out, which is Friday, the early morning of Friday a week ago, I think I set the alarm for 1 a.m. and I don't think I ended up going to bed till 5 a.m. But now, because it's moving west under the Plough or the Big Dipper or St. Major, it's visible higher up in the night, early in the night now. So it's a little bit easier. You can still get a good look at it and go to bed at midnight or so, you know. Mariana Dunn says, greetings and blessings all from very hot, feels like 105 degrees, Virginia. Definitely time to climb into the fridge and close the door, Mariana, but welcome along. And fans at the ready. Barb Jordan says, hi all, still in lockdown here in Florida. Well, let me tell you, that is a good thing in many respects because it works, and it's been proven to work in countries that have done it. Kaylee says, hope everyone is good. I was counting the days until it was Monday again. Always good way to start the week. Thanks, Kaylee. Margaret Ring is watching. Hello, Margaret. Hope you are well. Rex Fortenberry says, Banachti Starman, Gigrich o Baton Rouge, Ray Chum Atarav a Humana. Yes, we're full of bull here. Not that kind of bull, like bulls as in the animals. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Rex Banachty Tussa Fame. Tom King says, good evening, Anthony, and all the friendly too. I hope all in good fettle. Looking forward to story time. Tom, I'm always in good form when I see your name coming up. It's brilliant. And happy birthday to your daughter. I think her name the other day, I think her name is Sarah. Did I read that right? Anyway, happy birthday. Megan Walter says, I'm surprised no one has created a gritty Western show about the saga of cattle raids in ancient Ireland. Yes, there were 14 of them. There are 14 surviving stories involving cattle raids that we know of. So there you go. Margaret says, good evening, Anthony, and all the lovely Tua. And indeed, good evening to you, Margaret. Hope you are well. Darina Makani says, hi from Darina in Bray. Fáilte, Darina, very good evening to you. Kelly Minich is watching. Giaguch Kelly. Patricia McAteer says, hello there, everyone. Loving your photos of Neowise. Yes, indeed. And I enjoyed your photographs over the mountains, Patricia. Thank you very much. Patricia Lochran McTague says, happy National Moon Day from the USA. And hello, everyone. I've been missing this. Busy during the past few lives. That's the way it goes. New moon today, or as we prefer to call it, invisible moon or dark moon. So no moonlight hindering the comet viewing. Maria Rodriguez Doyle says, hello, love from Spain. Gra more art. Maria, from all of us. Sandra Peterson says, hi, Anthony and the two from sunny Fife in Scotland. Hope you're all well and happy. All in good form so far, Sandra. Thanks for asking, and I hope you are in suitably fine form. Saoirse says, Anthony August Natua. Hello, everyone. J. Lewin Honogrieve. Yes, indeed, Monday has its own rewards, doesn't it? It makes it a little bit easier, the fact that it's Monday, I think. Janet Moran says, hello, Anthony and the two from Triple H Boston. Books so neat. Hello, Janet Fáilte. You're welcome along. Margaret says, the bookcase looks amazing. Wow. Yes. It also needs constant dusting, as I've been reminded. Joe Butler says, hello from Colorado. Very tidy books, and the bookcases look solid. Yes, hopefully they will last for a long, long time. Jennifer Fitzpatrick says, hi. Hello, Giaguch, Jennifer. Eva Anderson is in Gothenburg. I've missed a few episodes live, but it's good to be back, and indeed it is good to have you back, Eva. Hello. The bookcase is far too organised, says Patricia Lochran McTague. I have a feeling that won't last, but, you know, we'll see. Kristen Murray Andre says, hello. Looks fantastic, Anthony. Greetings to the tour from Chicago. Hello, Kristen. Nice to see you. Kelly Edmiston says, gorgeous new library. Hello, Kelly. How are you keeping? Megan Walter says, lovely shells. Hello, Megan. Siobhan Farugia, is that right? On with the show, please. Enough banter. Thank you. We always do banter, Siobhan. This is part of the whole experience, is saying hello to people individually. That is part of the experience, which was from day one to try and make people feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more relaxed during the COVID crisis. So yeah, just have to hang on there for a minute and we'll get going now momentarily. Gillian Gogarty is watching. Hello, Gillian. I could wave out the window at you. Scott Taggart says, holy cow, that's a lot of order on the chaos of a good collection. Yeah, I've suddenly developed OCD. Hello, Scott. Mariho, hello, Mariho is watching. Good evening to you. Bonsoir. Snapper Earl says, wait, this isn't recipe sharing. Hello, Mythers. Hi, Snapper, Fáilte. Nora Gaffney O'Connor says, Giaguich, I'm very impressed with your shelving. Came out of the sea to have a look, lol. You're like a mermaid, Nora. You spend more time in the sea than you do on land, but you're very welcome along. Yes, somebody's talking about the whole thing about sanity and a clean desk. Look, I am a very untidy person, right? This is about the tidiest things I've been in a long time. Paul Campbell is in the house. It is easy to share this Facebook Live event on your own Facebook news feed so others can see by pressing the share icon and then pressing write post and then pressing the post icon. Brilliant advice, Paul. Thanks for that. Saoirse Nichandal says, second comment, Anthony, are you going to add the lighting to the shelving again? Looks splendid. Actually, it's a little bit early to tell, but there is down lighting on the top and it is lighting up the books. I'm not going to add the individual lead strips that I had before. They were too untidy. But it was nice, I do. But when it gets a little bit darker, hopefully you'll see the moody lighting. Laura Puente says, greetings, so happy to join you from Chicago. Another Chicagoan in the house. Hello, Laura. You're welcome. Doris O'Hara says, hello, Anthony. Hope you and all the lovely two are safe and well. Yes, indeed, Doris, and I hope you are likewise welcome. Kimberly Fields Sipila says, hi to all from sunny Washington. Fáilte, Kimberly. Very welcome. And she says, A+ on the remote. Thank you. Daniel Kedney says, hello, Banachty. Fáilte, Daniel. Marie Cronin says, Díogh gach dinner. Hello, Marie. Fáilte. Díogh. Maeve Fiona Callahan says, I haven't been here for a while and I've missed you. Well, we've missed you, Maeve. Welcome back and enjoy the show. Donna Fire says, oh, so happy to join in from Maryland. The bookshelves look great. Good stuff, Donna. Kimberly Halligan says, hi, Anthony, on the tour from hot New York City. The new bookshelves look fantastic. Hello, Kimberly, and to all our friends in New York. Melanie Lynn, oh, I got that already. Wandy says, miss my Irish green second homeland. Love from Holland. Fáilte, Wandy. Nice to see you. Barbara Murphy's in the house. Another Murphy is in the Murphy house. Hello to her from Tucson, Arizona. Lunch ready so I can enjoy the coming hour. Love the bookcases. Hi, Barbara. Welcome along. Pilar Goldstein D says, Díogh to gorgeous bookshelves now, Mr. Murphy. Thank you indeed. Neil Hughes says, meant. Brilliant. Shelfin and Lowerland. Thank you, Neil. Denise Murphy, another Murphy. Did you leave room for more books? There is room for expansion. Of course. That would have to be, wouldn't it? Okay. Paula says, and the new curtains too. I love pink. Guess who chose that colour? It's true. Rowan Grove is watching. Yeah, I saw that already, didn't I? Did I not? I thought I saw Rowan already. If I didn't, Rowan, you're welcome along. Hello from Colorado, says Rowan. Slipping in late. Sorry, it wasn't you. It was somebody else. I do apologize. Rogue Vulcan says, hi, and the library looks great. Díogh, Rogue. Janet Moran says, it certainly is part of the experience, I presume. Are you talking about dusting? Okay. How are we getting on? Nora says, Mermaids Anonymous, here I come. How do you get your book height so even? Actually, these ones are okay, but the shelves further down, they're a little bit uneven. Okay. Carol Barrett says, hi, Anthony, and all. Greetings from sunny Galway. Tá sé Grainmhar in New Igalliv. Welcome along, Carol. Joe Butler says, I trim mine to make them even. Yeah, don't do that. You sand down the top of them. No, not a good idea. Get the scissors out. Connie Keeler is in Ontario and Canada and says hello. Hello, Connie. Fáilte. Now, what time are we on? We'll move on. Yes. Pink is very flattering, says Megan. Yes, indeed. I can't disagree. Lisa Collins says, it's been so long since I've been able to watch. Hello to all from Minnesota. Hello, Lisa. Welcome back. Okay, and just to catch up on YouTube, Karen Burns is saying that a good bookshelf never stays in order. I'll be guilty of that before long, I promise you. Hawthorne in the Glen is watching from Tyrone. Hello, Fáilte. John Main is watching from San Francisco. Hello, John. Idiosyncratic is in the house. That's a funny handle if ever I saw one. Storm's End, who is Karen Lira. Glad to see you still putting out all this great content. Hope everyone on the tube hits the like button. Yes, and don't forget, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Not far off 10,000 subscribers now. I think we're all caught up. So what is that? That is, let's call it 20 minutes. Wow, Well, in fairness, that is 20 minutes of just saying hello to people. Just before we start, two things. The usual is to say thank you, as always, to Mythical Ireland patrons for supporting these live web streams and everything else that I do here at Mythical Ireland. In particular, I actually want to mention several of my patrons tonight, and they are Marlon O'Kirmac, Donna Firer, Lee Williams, Erica Rivertree, Fiona Nigyollachara, Timothy E. Quinn, and Donald E. Gavin. Thank you very much for your support. If you want to become a patron of Mythical Ireland, of course, the address is patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. And if you become a patron, you actually get rewarded for doing so. There are regular, more than rewards for your patronage. So please do consider becoming a patron and supporting the work here. Also, there is a good news on Island of the Setting Sun 2020. The corrected proofs have come back to me. I just have to basically say, yes, all the corrections that I asked for are done. And I have to write a new foreword, which I'm going to do in the coming few days. All going well, it'll be going to print within the week. And all going well, I will have copies for distribution in around the middle of August. Little bit less than a month from now. So, if you're interested in securing a signed copy, remember the place to do that is on the Mythical Ireland website, because I will have copies before any of the other booksellers. So you'll get yours first. And as soon as I have copies, I will fulfill the orders. And I'm just pasting in the links to the Patreon and also to the pre-order. Please do your best to pre-order Island now to guarantee yourself a copy, because the print run will be limited. So make sure that you get your copy. Anyway, this evening, and so that's really 22 minutes when we cut out all of the advertising, we are talking about Táin Bó Fraích. And I'll just give a very brief introduction to the story. It is one of a total of 14 different cattle raid stories. So Táin, which is T-A-I-N, is the Irish for cattle raid, or, you know, the movement of cattle, or the intentional moving of cattle. Of course, the most famous of all the Táins in Irish literature is Táin Bó Cuailnge, the Brown Bull of Cooley, and the famous battle between Queen Maeve of Connacht and Conor MacNessa, or Crohor, and the armies of Ulster, with their hero and their lead warrior, Cuchulainn, defending the Brown Bull of Cooley against Maeve's advances. Won't spoil it for you. The popular translations are by Thomas Kinsella. There's a very nice translation also by the late Ciarán Carson. And if you're interested in a more scholarly, academic translation, that would be Cecile O'Reilly's. It's a funny thing, you know, I did reorganize things somewhat. I may not be able to just pull the books off the shelf with the same rapidity that I was accustomed to, because I got used to where everything is now. I can still point to them, you know. So there's the Cecile O'Reilly translation of the Táin. And I have several of the Kinsella translation, but there's one there. Thomas Kinsella's translation of the Táin. And Ciarán Carson's yes, interesting. I know it's there. There it is. Yes, indeed. And that's what Ciarán Carson's translation of the Táin Bó Cuailnge looks like. Beautiful cover. Well, it's a dust jacket on a beautiful hardback cover. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. So, of the 14, 5 or 6 of the Táins, 5 or 6 of these cattle raid stories have been translated. One of them is Táin Bó Fraích. Now, some of those cattle raids are described as at rem scale or precursor stories to the big one. the big one being Táin Bó Cuailnge. And apparently, in medieval bardic times, before the bard, with his gathering or her gathering, let's not assume gender here, before they would tell the epic story, they would tell a few shorter introductory stories. And apparently some of these Táin stories were in that bracket. However, Táin Bó Fraích apparently is a little bit atypical from the point of view, it is almost long enough to be a bigger story than a Remscale or an introductory story. I recently acquired reproductions of A.H. Leahy's translations of Heroic Romances of Ireland. There's volume 1 and there's volume 2. In volume 2, I was struck by this. I didn't read any of the rest, and I will get round to it, of course, in time. But in this one, I saw Táin Bó Fraích, and for some reason I was immediately drawn to it. I was like, there's a story I haven't read before and I'd love to read. In the course of my reading of it, I have made lots and lots of margin notes. I was blown away by aspects of this story. It's exciting for reasons that I hope I'll be able to share with you over the next half an hour or so. I just want to read Leahy's introduction to the story to get us kicked off. I think Myfanwy's in the house. I just see somebody saying hello. Oh, yes, indeed. Hello, Myfanwy. Welcome along. Fáilte, you're just about on time for the start of the story. Lucky you, huh? The Táin Bó Fraích, the driving of the cattle of Fraích, has apparently only one version. The different manuscripts which contain it differing in very small points, most of which seem to be due to scribal errors. And even that's unusual, isn't it? Because we have seen time and time again where different versions of stories in different manuscripts have variances with each other, considerable variances in some case. And we saw, didn't we, with, for instance, Laura Gawala, the Book of Invasions, how there were several different versions, 3 at a time sometimes. Practically, the tale consists of 2 quite separate parts, and that's why this is going to be 2 episodes. The first, which is the longer portion, gives the adventures of Fraích at the court of... No, I'm not going to... No, let's not. The difference between the 2 parts, I don't want to spoil the story. Let's just deal with the technicalities. But the difference between the 2 parts is not only in the subject matter. The difference in the style is even yet more apparent. The first part has, I think, the most complicated plot of any Irish romance. It abounds in brilliant descriptions, and although the original is in prose, it is, in feeling, highly poetic. The second part resembles in its simplicity the rapid action and the other 4 tales. Sorry. In its simplicity and rapid action, it resembles the other 4 tales or preludes to the War of Cuailnge contained in this volume, and is of a style represented in English by the narrative ballad. In spite of the various characters of the 2 parts, the story seems to have been regarded as one in all the manuscripts which contain it, and the question how these 2 romances came to be regarded as one story becomes interesting. The natural hypothesis would be that the last part was the original version, which was in its earlier part rewritten by a man of genius, possibly drawing his plot from some brief statement that Finnabar was promised to Fraích in return for the help that he and his recovered cattle could give in the Great War. And I'm giving away slight detail here, but don't worry, we'll get to it shortly. But a difficulty which prevents us from regarding the second part as an original legend at once comes in. The second part of the story happens to contain so many references to nations outside Ireland that its date can be pretty well fixed. Fraích and his companions go over the sea from Ulster, i.e. to Scotland, then through North Saxon land to the Sea of Icht, i.e. the Sea of Wight or the English Channel, then to the Alps in the north of the land of the Longbeards or Lombards. The Longbeards do not appear in Italy until the end of the 6th century. The suggestion of North Saxon land reaching down to the Sea of Wight suggests that there was then a South Saxon land. familiar to an Irish writer. Of course, don't forget, it's always possible that's the milieu, that is the time frame in which the story was written down. The story could be much earlier than that, but these are the details which give the dating of the writing of the story. Familiar to an Irish writer, dating this part of the story to before the end of the 8th century, when both Saxons and Longbeards were overcome by Charlemagne. The second part of the story is then no original legend, but belongs to the 7th or 8th century, or the classical period, and it looks as if there were two writers, one of whom, like the author of the Egerton version of Táin, embellished the love story part of the original legend, leaving the end alone, while another author wrote an account of the legendary journey of the demigod Fraích in search for his stolen cattle, etc., etc., etc. The oldest manuscript authority for the Táin Bó Fraích is the Book of Leinster, written before 1150. There are at least two other manuscript authorities. Elbow sneeze. I do apologise. Just in case I need it. No tissue is coming out. I do apologise. This seems to happen from time to time. Maybe it's all the dust I removed over the past week. There are at least two other manuscript authorities, one in Egerton, 1782, published by Professor Kuno Meyer in the Zeitschrift für Celtic Philologie in 1902. The other is in the manuscript XL Advocates Library, Edinburgh, blah, 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 published in Revue Celtique, XXIV, what's that, 24. Professor Meyer has kindly allowed me to copy his comparison of these manuscripts and his revision of O'Byrne Crow's translation of the Book of Leinster text. The text of the literal translation given here follows, however, in the main, O'Byrne Crow's translation, which is in the Proceedings of the Royal Irish Academy for 1870. A few insertions are made from the other manuscripts. Thank you for those of you who are saying bless you. When so made, the insertion is indicated by a note. Excuse me. So here we go. Only just half an hour in, and we're only starting the story proper now. This, just have to find the start of it. I do apologise. Táin Bó Fraích, Part 1. Fraích, son of Idath, of the men of Connacht, a son he to Bayfind from the She, a sister she to Boand. Immediately, I'm only one sentence in and I'm already excited. First of all, he's a son of a woman called Bayfind. Now, you may or may not remember, but in the great tripartite or three-part story, Tuchmark Táin, the romantic pursuing or the wooing of Táin, one of the names given to Táin by Midger was Bayfind, which I think literally means bright woman. So that's fascinating. It says that his mother, Fraich's mother, was Bayfind, and that she was a sister of Boand. And of course, Boand or Boan is the goddess associated with Brunabonia, and of course, more specifically with the Boyne River, having caused the formation of the river in the origin myth in the Dunshanicus and in other sources when she approached Nectan's well and walked thrice around it, Tuhal or Withershins. He is the hero who is the most beautiful that was of the men of Eru and of Alba, but he was not long-lived. A little bit like Cuchulainn in that regard. You know, it is often said, you know the song and you know the old saying, only the good die young. It seems to have been an aspect of storytelling that those sometimes who were to lead illustrious lives also died young. In the case of Fraích, that is, without spoiling the story, to be found out shortly. Cuchulainn, of course, died young as well. His mother gave him 12 cows out of the She. I think that's fascinating. The fairy mound, it's translated here. And they are white-eared. He had a good housekeeping till the end of 8 years without the taking of a wife. That's fascinating, because what I read there was that his mother gave him 12 cows out of the she. 12 cows, in my view, is 12 moons, which is a year, 12 full moons, approximately. Of course, sometimes you have to add the extra month, and we discussed that, didn't we, in some episodes dealing with the astronomy. And 8 years is interesting too, because of the Venus cycle. Now, this is Bayfind is his mother, not Boand. So I'm not sure if we're talking about the same place. But it is curious that Táin, of course, and Midger, after Angus convinced the Ulster king Ailill to give Táin to Midger. Midger and Táin actually slept together at Newgrange. So it is interesting. There's very strong connections with Táin, whose alternative name was Bayfind and Newgrange. As, of course, there is between Boand and Newgrange. 50 sons of kings. This was the number of his household. Co-aged, co-similar to him, all between form and instruction. Findabar, daughter of Ailill and Maeve, loves him for the great stories about him. Actually, the correct pronunciation in Middle Irish of Findabar would be Findavar. The B with lenition sounding like a V. Findavar. It is declared to him at his house. So Maeve and Ailill, I'm just going to have to do a little bit of exposition here, a little bit of explaining. Maeve and Ailill are, of course, chief proponents, chief characters in the dramatis personae of Táin Bó Cuailnge, because it is Maeve and Ailill who start the war of the bulls following the pillow talk. Now, we will do Táin Bó Cuailnge over several episodes in the future. But Maeve is the Connacht queen at Rathcrohan, and Ailill, her husband. Findavar, her daughter, is the one who, it says here, loves Fraích for the great stories about him. It is declared to him at his house. Eru and Alba were full of his renown and the stories about him. So he's a little bit, it sounds like a little bit of a sort of a Fionn McCool type of person, in that he was renowned in both Ireland and in Scotland. A Connacht man was he, and well we know his mother, who dwells among the she. In other words, she was of the Tuatha Danann. Bayfind they call her, sister to Boand, the fairy queen, and Alba near nor Éireann, such grace as Fraích's hath seen. Yet wondrous though that hero's grace, his fairy lineage high, for years but few his lovely face was seen by human eye. Fraích had 12 of white-eared fairy cattle. 'Twas his mother whose cattle, those cattle who gave. For 8 years in his home he dwelt wifeless, and the state of his household was brave. 50 princes whose age and whose rearing, and whose forms were as his, with him played, and his glory filled Alba and Éireann. Till it came to the ears of a maid, for Maeve and Ailill's lovely child, fair Findavar was said, by tales of Fraích to love beguiled, with Fraích in love would wed. After this, going to a dialogue with the maiden occurred to him. He discussed the matter with his people. Let there be a message then sent to thy mother's sister, so that a portion of her wondrous robing and of gifts from the she be given thee from her. He goes accordingly to the sister, that is, to Boand, till he was in My Bray, which is Mag Breg, or the plain of Brea, which is where, of course, Brunibonia is located. And he carried away 50 dark blue cloaks, and each of them was like the back of a black chafer, and 4 black-grey rings on each cloak, and a brooch of red gold on each cloak, and pale white tunics with loop animals of gold around them, and 50 silver shields with edges, and a candle of a king's house in the hand of them, the men, and 50 studs of findrune. Now, findrune or findruni is an unknown white bronze metal, according to the footnote. And 50 studs of findrune on each of them, the lances, 50 knobs of thoroughly burned gold on each of them, points, i.e. butt ends, of carbuncle under them beneath, and their point of precious stones. They used to light the night as if they were the sun's rays. What lights the night as if it was the sun's rays, but is not the sun? The moon. So I've taken a note here that Boand is presumably at Newgrange, because my Bray is given as the location. And it gives him cloaks and rings. And I also find that whole thing very interesting when I see rings. I think about all of the circles that are on megalithic art. I think about orbits. I think about rotations of planets and sun and moon, and they follow this ring through the sky, the Milky Way, the ecliptic, etc., etc. And there were 50 gold-hilted swords with them, and a soft grey mare under the seat of each man, and bits of gold to them, a plate of silver with a little bell of gold around the neck of each horse. 50 caparisons, and there's a footnote for that. The word for caparisons is akron, the usual word for a shoe. It is suggested that here it may be a caparison of leather. Shoes seem to be out of place here. Sorry, where was I? 50 caparisons of purple with threads of silver out of them, with buckles of gold and silver, and with head animals, i.e. spiral ornaments. Fascinating. 50 whips of findruni, with a golden hook on the end of each of them, and 7 chase hounds in chains of silver, and an apple of gold between each of them, greaves of bronze about them. By no means was there any colour which was not on the hounds. And always fascinating, not just by hounds in relation to the dogs of the sky, but when it says there are chains of silver, I always think about Sirius and Procyon, which are the two dog stars, the bright stars of Canis Major. Of course, Sirius being the brightest star in the entire night sky, and Procyon lying just on either side of the heavenly river, the Boyne River of the sky, the Ballach Bó-Finne. Excuse me. Please forgive me. I do apologise. Live TV, eh? 7 trumpeters with them, with golden and silver trumpets, with many coloured garments, with golden fairy yellow heads of hair, with shining tunics. There were 3 jesters before them with silver diadems under gilding, shields with engraved emblems or marks of distinction, with each of them, with crested staves, with ribs of bronze, copper bronze it has in brackets, along their sides. 3 harp players with a king's appearance about each of them, opposite to these. They depart for Crochan with that appearance on them. So we're at My Bray, or we're pretty much, I think it's clear that we're at Brunabonia, even though it doesn't specifically say that. And by the way, I'm sure Tom King, who's a blacksmith, is watching or is listening with interest to the description of all the metals and all the embellishments. So they're going from Brunabonia to Crochan, and Crochan, of course, is Rathcroghan, Maeve's headquarters, from where Táin Bó Cuailnge begins. The watchman seized them from the dun when they'd come into the plain of Crochan, and a dun, of course, is like a fort, some sort of monument. A multitude I see, he says, come towards the dun in their numbers. Since Ailill and Maeve assumed sovereignty, there came not to them before, and there shall not come to them, a multitude which is more beautiful, or which is more splendid. It is the same with me, that it were in a vat of wine my head should be, with the breeze that goes over them. they're making towards Crocan, and it would appear that there's a multitude of them. The manipulation and play that the young hero who is in it makes, I have not before seen its likeness. So in other words, there's something very special and particular about Fraích and his multitude. Did I say white bronze is what Margaret wants to know? Yes, white bronze. Findrune, Findruine, and the footnote says an unknown white bronze metal. He shoots his pole, a shot's discharge from him. Before it reaches to earth, the 7 chase hounds with their 7 silver chains catch it. This is also fascinating. This could be astronomical symbolism related to Orion, and I was talking about Setanta and Cuchulainn throwing the moon and the planets along the ecliptic. And of course, this does bring to mind Cuchulainn and his feats because of the fact that the hounds could catch it before it reaches the earth. At this, the hosts came from the Dun of Crocan to view them. The people in the Dun smother one another so that 16 men die while viewing them. So in other words, there's a crowd rush and there's a crush in the crowd because so many people are crowding out of the Dun of Crocan to see Fraích and his entourage. They alight in front of the Dun, they tent their steeds and they loose the chase hounds. They, the hounds, chase the 7 deer to Rathcrocan, and 7 foxes, and 7 hares, and 7 wild boars, until the youths kill them in the lawn of the Dun. After that, the chase hounds dart a leap into Bray, Brei. They catch 7 otters, presumably Bray is a river. They brought them to the elevation in front of their chief Rath. They, Fraích and his suite, sit down there. A message comes from the king for a parley with them. A parley, is when 2 people sort of basically talk and maybe talk terms. It is asked whence they came. They name themselves according to their true names. Fraích, son of is it Edath? I think, yes, not Idath, and there's no father on the I, so it's not Edath. Fraích, son of Edath, this, say they. The steward tells it to the king and queen, basically. The steward is telling them who has arrived. Welcome to them, say Ailill and Maeve. It is a noble youth who is there, says Ailill. Let him come into the lists, and a liss or a lish is an Irish word for a fort or a ring fort. It is here translated in brackets as the outer court. The 4th of the house is allotted to them. This was the array of the house. This is going to sound a little bit like our Durga's hostel. A 7-fold order in it, 7 apartments from fire to sidewall in the house all round. A rail or front of bronze to each apartment, a partitioning of red yew under variegated planing all. 3 plates of bronze in the skirting of each apartment, 7 plates of brass from the ceiling, or to the roof tree in the house. Of pine the house was made. It is a covering of shingle it had externally. There were 16 windows in the house, and a frame of brass to each of them, a tie of brass across the roof light. Even the mention of a roof light fascinates me. Keep thinking of the roof box at Newgrange, 4 beams of brass on the apartment of Ailill and Maeve, adorned all with bronze, and it in the exact centre of the house. 2 rails of silver around it under gilding. In the front, a wand of silver that reached the middle rafters of the house. A wand of silver that reached the middle rafters of the house. I don't know. I just keep thinking about Milky Way, The house was encircled all round the door, all round, from the door to the other. They hang up their arms in that house, and they sit and welcome is made to them. Welcome to you, say Ailill and Maeve. It is that we have come for, says Fraích. In other words, he's basically telling them we've come for the welcome. It shall not be a journey for boasting this, says Maeve, and Ailill and Maeve arrange the chessboard after that. And of course, chessboard is translated from Fichiel, which is an Irish version of chess. And Fichiel boards have been found at excavations in Ireland. Fraích then takes to the playing of chess with a man of their people. It was a beauty of a chessboard. You can see how everything's being described in wondrous terms. Everything seems to be eloquent. All sorts of fine metals adorning all the items. A board of findrúine, that's that white bronze again, in it with 4 ears and edges of gold. A candle of precious stones at illuminating for them. Gold and silver, the figures that were upon the table. So in other words, the chess pieces are made of gold and silver. Prepare ye food for the warriors, says Ailill. Not it is my desire, says Maeve, but to go to the chess yonder against Fraích. Get to it, I am pleased, said Ailill, and they play the chess then and Fraích. There's a footnote saying the ears of the chessboard were apparently handles that were shaped like ears. His people were meanwhile at cooking the wild animals. Let thy harpers play for us, says Ailill to Fraích. Let them play indeed, says Fraích. A harp bag of the skins of otters about them, with their adornment of ruby or coral in brackets, beneath their adornment of gold and silver. Mayer translates this harp bag as the concave part of the harp. It is from the music which Uthne, the Dagda's harp, played that the 3 are named. The time the woman was at the bearing of children, it had a cry of sorrow with the soreness of the pangs at first. It was a smile and joy it played in the middle for the pleasure of bringing forth the 2 sons. It was a sleep of soothingness played the last son on account of the heaviness of the birth, so that it is from him that the 3rd of the music has been named. And even the fact that Dagda's harp is mentioned here is fascinating. Trina says the electronic dictionary of the Irish language says for findrúine, electrum or electron, a byproduct from the smelting of gold and silver, ? Interesting stuff. Boand awoke afterwards out of her sleep. I accept, she says, thy 3 sons of Uthne of full ardour, since there is Suantraid and Gentraid and Goltraid on cows. They're Irish words and I'm not sure what the meaning is, or names. And women who shall fall by Maeve and Ailill, men who shall perish by the hearing of art from them. So this is interesting because it is now apparent that Boand has actually made the journey from Brúnaboinne to Rathcrohan with Fraích and his company. They cease from playing after that in the palace. It is stately it has come, says Fergus. I'm not sure if Fergus was introduced previously, so I don't know who he is. Divide ye to us, says Fraích to his people, the food. Bring ye it into the house. Of course, the translation is, I'm not sure what the date, the original date of publication of this is. I imagine it's late 19th century. The English translation is a bit archaic. A little bit like our friend Whitley Stokes. Lothar went onto the floor of the house. He divides to them the food. On his haunches, he used to divide each joint with his sword, and he used not to touch the food part since he commenced dividing. He never hacked the meat beneath his hand. So he was very skilled with a sword. There were 3 days and 3 nights at the playing of the chess on account of the abundance of the precious stones in the household of Fraích. After that, Fraích addressed Maeve. It is well I have played against thee, i.e., I have beaten you, he says. I take not away thy stake from the chessboard, that there be not a decay of hospitality for thee in it. Since I have been in this dun, which is the day which I deem longest in it ever, says Maeve. Sorry, I need to reread that. Since I have been in this dun, this is the day which I deem longest in it ever, says Maeve. Longest day, summer solstice, because they previously mentioned 3 days and 3 nights. Perhaps this is a reference to summer solstice. This is reasonable, says Fraích. They are 3 days and 3 nights in it. At this, Maeve starts up. It was a shame with her that the warriors were without food. She goes to Ailill, she says it to him. It's a funny, again, this translation mixes tenses all the time. A great deed we have done, says she, the stranger men who have come to us to be without food. Dearer to thee is playing of the chess, says Ailill. It hinders not the distribution to his suite throughout the house. They have been 3 days and 3 nights in it, but that we perceived not the night with the white light of the precious stones in his house. Isn't that fascinating? So, I don't know if that's a reference to quartz. I'm just thinking, if this is summer solstice, we perceived not the night, because at the time of summer solstice, it doesn't get dark enough for a full black night to descend. What you get is, as I keep referring over time, you get this endless twilight at summer solstice. Tell them, says Ailill, to cease from the lamenting until distribution is made to them. Distribution is then made to them, and things were pleasing to them, and they stayed 3 days and 3 nights in it after that, over the feasting. Of course, white lights, of course, Rowan, could be stars as well, starlight. It is after that Fraích was called into the house of conversation, and it is asked of him what brought him. A visit with you, said he, is pleasing to me. Your company is indeed not displeasing with the household, which is another way of saying it is pleasing, not displeasing, said Ailill. Your addition is better than your diminution. We shall stay here then, says Fraích. Another week. They stay after that until the end of a fortnight in the dun, and they have a hunt every single day towards the dun. The men of Connacht used to come to view them. It was a trouble with Fraích not to have a conversation with the daughter, for that was the profit that had brought him. A certain day he starts up at the end of night for washing to the stream. It is the time she had gone and her maid for washing. He takes her hand. Stay for my conversing, he says. Why not just say stay for a bit of chat? It is you I have come for. I am delighted, truly, says the daughter. And here they're not referring to her by her name, Findavar. They're just calling her the daughter. If I were to come, I could do nothing for thee. Query, wouldst thou elope with me, he says. I will not elope, says she, for I am the daughter of a king and a queen. There is nothing of thy poverty that you should not get me, i.e., thy poverty is not so great that thou art not able to get me from my family, and it shall be my choice accordingly to go to thee. It is thou whom I have loved. There are dogs barking outside, and none of them are mine. And take thou with thee this ring, says the daughter, and it shall be between us for a token. My mother gave it to me to put by, and I shall say that I put it astray. Each of them accordingly goes apart after that. She gives him a ring, which her mother had given to her that is Maeve. Fascinatingly, this is not the first time we've come across a ring in the stories. Of course, I did a podcast or an episode about, I think it was before Live Irish Myths, but about the ring, the Lord of the Ring, as it were, in Caught My Chura, where Bress's mother, whose name escapes me at this moment in time, is along the shoreline, and this mysterious man comes from across the sea and comes onto land and basically asks if he can make love to her, and she says that she hasn't agreed to trysting with him. But they do anyway. Dalbaith is his name. What's her name? Oh, crikey. Anthony. I need to pour a cold glass of water over my head for this. And anyway, he gives her a ring, and this is their token, and it's a little bit like Cinderella because it will only fit one person, and it's Bress's ring, isn't it? It fits him later on. So anyway, Findavar gives Fraích a ring, and then they part. I fear, says Ailill, the eloping of yon daughter with Fraích, though she would be given to him on solemn pledge that he would not come towards us with his cattle for aid at the spoil. Fraích goes to them to the house of conversation. It is a secret, also translated as a whisper, ye have, says Fraích. Thou wouldst fit in it, says Ailill. Desiree Riley is watching. Hello, Desiree. Fáilte. Good evening. Will ye give me your daughter, says Fraích. Thou wouldst fit in it. Sorry, I've read the wrong thing. Will ye give me your daughter, says Fraích. The hosts will clearly see she shall be given, said Ailill, if thou wouldst give a dowry as shall be named. Thou shalt have it, says Fraích. 60 black-grey steeds to me, with their bits of gold to them, and 12 milch cows, so that there be milked liquor of milk from each of them, and an ear-red white calf with each of them, and thou to come with me with all thy force and with all thy musicians for the bringing of the cows from Cuailnge. So, of course, we're introducing the story of the cattle raid of Cooley here. He's basically looking for Fraich's help in the forthcoming Táin Bó Cuailnge. And my daughter to be given thee, provided thou dost come. I swear by my shield and by my sword and by my accoutrement, I would not give that in dowry, even of Maeve. He went from them out of the house then. Ailill and Maeve hold a conversation. It shall drive at us several of the kings of Erin around us if he should carry off the daughter. What is good is, let us dash after him, and let us slay him forthwith, before he may inflict destruction upon us. It is a pity this, says Maeve, and it is a decay of hospitality for us. It shall not be a decay of hospitality for us. It shall not be a decay of hospitality for us the way I shall prepare it. So Fraích offers a very rich dowry, but is refused. And then they talk, Ailill and Maeve are talking about killing him because he could cause them an awful lot of trouble. Ailill and Maeve go into the palace. Let us go away, says Ailill, that we may see the chase hounds at hunting till the middle of the day. And until they are tired, they all go off afterwards to the river to bathe themselves. It is declared to me, says Ailill, that thou art good in water. Come into this ford, that we may see we may see thy swimming. What is the quality of this flood? He says. We know not anything dangerous in it, says Ailill. Liar, excuse me. And bathing in it is frequent. He strips his clothes off him then, and he goes into it, and he leaves his girdle above. Now, this is Fraích they're talking about. It's a funny thing about the stories. They don't always mention who they're talking about, and you kind of have to figure it out. Sorry, there's a smudge on my glasses, making it difficult for me to read. But in this case, it's Fraích. So he's basically gone swimming in the nip. Ailill then opens his purse behind him, and the ring was in it. Ailill recognises it then. "Come here, O Maeve," says Ailill. Maeve goes then. "Dost thou recognise that?" says Ailill. "I do recognise," she says. Ailill flings it into the river down. Fraích perceived that matter. He sees something. The salmon leaped to meet it and caught it in his mouth. I mean, if this story wasn't already full of sumptuously rich allegory and allusions and descriptions, now we have the salmon entering the fray. Ailill is throwing the ring away. In other words, when Findavar comes back to Fraích and says, "Have you still got the ring?" Findavar will go, "Oh yeah, it's right here." And he'll say, "Oh, I can't find it." And she'll think that he's been careless with it, when in fact Ailill has tried to throw it away. However, the salmon has caught it. Fraích gives a bound to it, and he catches its jole, Jole, and he goes to land, and he brings it to a lonely spot on the brink of the river. So Ailill throws the ring, the salmon catches the ring, and Fraích catches the salmon. He proceeds to come out of the water then. "Do not come," says Ailill, "until thou shalt bring me a branch of the rowan tree yonder, which is on the brink of the river. Beautiful I deem its berries." Now, if you didn't suspect that there was something seriously up, I think at this point, Fraích would definitely be saying, "Hang on a second here, lads. He wants me to do what?" He then goes away and breaks a branch off the trees and brings it on his back over the water. The remark of Findavar was, "Is it not beautiful he looks?" Exceedingly beautiful she thought it to see Fraích over a black pool. The body of great whiteness, and the hair of great loveliness, the face of great beauty, the eye of great greyness, and he a soft youth, without fault, without blemish, with a below narrow, above broad face, and he straight, blemishless, the branch with the red berries between the throat and the white face. It is what Findavar used to say, that by no means had she seen anything that could come up to him half or third for beauty. After that, he throws the branches to them out of the water. "The berries are stately and beautiful. Bring us an edition of them." I presume this is Ailill talking to Fraích. It doesn't say. He goes off again. So in other words, Ailill isn't happy with the one branch with the berries on it. He's telling Fraích to go back and get more. He goes off again until he was in the middle of the water. What happens? The serpent catches him out of the water. There's a serpent in the water. And Ailill, having earlier said, we know not anything dangerous in it. "Let a sword come to me from you," he says. Presumably that's Fraích. He's calling for a sword. And there was not on the land a man who would dare to give it to him through fear of Ailill and Maeve. Have you ever seen that scene in Gladiator where Maximus confronts Commodus in the great arena, and they're going to have a hand-to-hand or a sword-to-sword combat, but Maximus has successfully flung the sword out of Commodus's hand, and Commodus calls for a sword. But what's the other guy's name? Quintus, is it? Quintus says, "Sheathe your swords." He wouldn't allow Commodus have another sword. And none of them would give Commodus a sword. Even though he was the emperor, none of them would give him a sword for fear of Quintus. And I think this is sort of similar. After that, Findavar strips off her clothes and gives a leap into the water with the sword. Nobody would give Fraích a sword while the serpent was wrapped around him in the water. But his girlfriend, Findavar, shows bravery. She strips off and she grabs the sword and she leaps into the water. Totally fearless. What a brilliant woman. Her father lets fly a 5-pronged spear at her from above, a shot's throw, so that it passes through her 2 tresses, which I think means basically passed through her hair, and that Fraích caught the spear in his hand. This is fabulous. I mean, this is like Cuchulainn and the Gay Bulaga. And Fraích is showing his skills again because he caught the spear. He didn't just catch the salmon. He has now caught the spear that had been thrown by her own father at Findavar. And not only showing the skill, but doing so under duress with a serpent wrapped around him. Well, it doesn't specifically say the serpent is wrapped around him, does it? The serpent catches him out of the water. He shoots the spear into the land up, and the monster in his side. He lets it fly with a charge of the methods of playing of championship, so that it goes through the purple robe and through the tunic or the shirt that was about Ailill. Wow, fascinating episodes going on here. So Ailill throws the 5-pronged spear at Findavar. It passes through her hair. Fraích catches it and he throws it to land. And it pierces the robe and the tunic of Ailill, but presumably not the flesh of Ailill. At this, the youths who are about Ailill rise to him. Findavar goes out of the water and leaves the sword in Fraích's hand, and he cuts the head off the monster. Who did this in classical mythology? Not Perseus. The famous one, not Achilles. Was it Achilles? Hercules. Didn't he? Wasn't it Hercules who killed the Hydra? I think so. And he cuts the head off the monster so that it was on its side, and he brought the monster with him to land. Now, if this doesn't sound familiar, let me rewind a number of episodes back to all the stories when we mentioned Mata and the Dagda. Yes, Nora Gaffney O'Connor has it. The slaying of the Mata at Sheedenbroga, Brunabónia. And he brought the monster with him to land. It is from it is Dovlind Fraích in Bray, in the lands of the men of Connacht. In other words, this pool, Dublin, by the way, that's where Dublin City gets its name, from a black pool, Dovlind. But this is a different one, Dovlind Fraích. The black pool in which he killed the monster. Now, what is also fascinating here is we have links to Mata, because when Mata was slayed at Brunabónia, its bits, the various parts of its body were thrown into the Boyne River. Some of them floated down. Its shin bone formed the Boyne estuary, but its rib cage floated all the way down the coast and into the River Liffey, where it formed the ford of the River Liffey at Dovlind, the Black Pool. So there are more connections here. This is really fascinating. I have to read this and reread it. There's just so much in this story. It's fascinating. A great deed is what we have done, says Maeve. We repent, says Ailill, of what we have done to the man. The daughter, however, he says, her lips shall perish, which is a common metaphor for death. Tomorrow at once, and it shall not be the guilt of bringing of the sword that shall be for her. In other words, he's going to kill his own daughter. He was trying to stand between her and her true love and trying to meddle in those affairs. And lots of miracles are happening in relation to that to prevent his intrusions. Now he wants to kill her, but we'll see. Let a bath be made by you for this man, that is Fraích, namely broth of fresh bacon and the flesh of a heifer to be minced in it under adze and axe, and he to be brought into the bath. Sounds like a bath of kingship, doesn't it? Those old curious kingship rituals, the mating of the Lorach Báine, the white mare, and even the destruction of the cow, the destruction of the monster and its bits thrown into the water. But Geraldus Cambrensis, the Norman historian, Gerald of Wales, recalled, didn't he, a kingship ritual in the north or the northwest of Ireland, which was a bit like that, where the flesh of a horse or a heifer had to be placed into the bath, and the king was to enter it and drink it. All that thing was done as he said. So suddenly Fraích is being treated like royalty, but Findavar, however, awaits a different fate. His trumpeters then before him to the dun. They play then until 30 of the special friends of Ailill die at the long drawn or plaintive music. I mean, if you've ever been at a gig where you're really, really not enjoying the band, you always have the option just to get up and leave. But these people apparently were so appalled at the music that they died listening to it. He then goes into the dun, and he goes into the bath. The female company rise around him at the vat for rubbing and for washing his head. He was brought out of it then, and a bed was made. They heard something, the lament cry on Crochan. There were seen the 3 times 50 women with crimson tunics, with green headdresses, with brooches of silver on their wrists. A messenger is sent to them to learn what they had bewailed. Fraích, son of Idath, said the woman, boy pet of the king of the She of Éireann. And that's very interesting. Now, I also have the Irish version of this, which I must look. I want to find out where this phrase "boy pet" is translated from, because Fraích is very important if he is the boy pet of the king of the She of Éireann, the king of the She. Idath, and I wonder, according to the Dictionary of the Irish Language, Idath means a wild cherry. But I wonder if Idath isn't, an iteration or a version of Dagda. It's just what I wonder. 30 men whom King Ailill loved dearly, by that music were smitten to die, and his men carried Fraích, and they laid him in that bath for his healing to lie. Around the vat stood ladies, they bathed his limbs and head, from out the bath they raised him, and soft they made his bed. Then they heard a strange music, the wild Crochan keen, and of women thrice 50 on Crochan were seen. They had tunics of purple with green were they crowned, on their wrists glistened silver where brooches were bound. And there neared them a herald to learn why they wailed. 'Tis for Fraích, was their answer, by sickness assailed. Angel Barboni Smith is in the house, trying to creep in quietly. Hello, Angel. Good to have you along. Boy darling is he of our Lord, who in Éireann is king of the She, and Fraích heard the wail in their cry. Lift me out of it, he says to his people. This is the cry of my mother and of the women of Boand. He is lifted out at this, and he is brought to them. The women come around him and bring him from them to the She of Crochan, i.e. the deep caverns used for burial at Crochan. They saw something. I don't think that's the Cave of the Cats, though, because I don't think there was ever any evidence of burials down there, or was there? Was there any human remains found down there? They saw something at the 9th hour on the morrow he comes, and 50 women around him, and he quite whole, without stain and without blemish, of equal age, the women, of equal form, of equal beauty, of equal fairness, of equal symmetry, of equal stature, with the dress of women of the fairies about them, so that there was no means of knowing of one beyond the other of them. Little but men were suffocated around them. I don't know, sometimes the language is curious. That's what it says. Little but men were suffocated around them. They separate in front of the Lish. They give forth their lament on going from him, so that they troubled the men who were in the Lish excessively. It is the lament cry of the women of the fairies with the musicians of Erin. He then goes into the dun. I presume this is Fraích again. All the hosts rise before him and bid welcome to him, as if it were from another world he were coming. Ailill and Maeve arise and do penance to him for the attack they had made at him, and they make peace. Feasting commenced with them at once. Fraích calls a servant of his suite. Go off, he says, to the spot at which I went into the water. A salmon I left there. Bring it to Findavar, and let herself take charge over it, and let the salmon be well broiled by her, and the ring is in the centre of the salmon. I expect it will be asked of her tonight. Inebriety seizes them, and music and amusement delight them. In other words, they're drunk. Or, if you don't mind me saying, as we say in Ireland, they're pissed off their heads. Sorry. Ailill then said, Bring ye all my gems to me. They were brought to him then, so that they were before him. Wonderful, wonderful, says everyone. Call ye Findavar to me, he says. Findavar goes to him, and 50 maidens around her. O daughter, says Ailill, the ring I gave to thee last year, does it remain with thee? So you can see his treachery here. He's trying to catch his daughter out in front of everyone, and not just embarrass her, but he has plotted and schemed against her to prevent her from being with her lover, and he intends to kill her, which is dreadful. Bring it to me that the warriors may see it. Thou shalt have it afterwards. I do not know, she says, what has been done about it. Ascertain then, said Ailill. It must be sought, or thy soul must depart from thy body. Judge and jury, huh? It is by no means worth, say the warriors. There is much of value there without that. There is naught of my jewels that will not go for the maid, says Fraích, because she brought me the sword for pledge of my soul. There is not with thee anything of gems that should aid her unless she returns the ring from her, says Ailill. I have by no means the power to give it, says the daughter. What thou mayest like do it in regard to me. I swear to the God to whom my people swear, and again that is singular, and I must look up the Irish, because didn't we discuss that before? It's highly likely to be the gods, plural. Thy lips shall be pale, literally, shall perish, unless thou returnest it from thee, says Ailill. Dastardly, Daddy, who said that? Kelly Edmiston. Yeah, dastardly is right. It is why it is asked of thee, because it is impossible. For I know that until the people who have died from the beginning of the world come, it comes not out of the spot in which it was flung. It shall not come for a treasure which is not appreciated, says the daughter. The ring that is asked for here, I go that I may bring it to thee, since it is asked. Thou shalt not go, says Ailill, but let one go from thee to bring it. So he's not letting her go to get it, but he's letting her let somebody else get it. The daughter sends her maid to bring it. I swear to the God to whom my territories swear, if it shall be found, I shall by no means be under the power any longer, though I should be at great drinking continually. I shall by no means prevent you from doing that. Namely, even if it were to the groom thou shouldst go if the ring is found, said Eileen. In other words, if the ring is found, you can go to Fraích and have him. But at this point, Eileen's like, you're never going to find the ring. It's gone way down the river somewhere, mate. And thus we think of, don't we? We think of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Ring. And specifically, I think it's very well portrayed in the movie when Smeagol and Déagol, well, I think it's Smeagol, isn't it, that finds the ring in the bottom of the river. You know, the ring wants to be found, Frodo. The maid then brought the dish into the palace and the broiled salmon on it. And it dressed under honey, which was well made by the daughter. Sounds good. Sorry. And the ring of gold was on the salmon from above. In other words, she brought out the salmon and the ring was actually sitting on top of the salmon. Yes, salmon is on the menu, Paula. I'm not sure gold rings are edible. That's the only thing. Eileen and Maeve view it. After that, Fraích looks at it and looks at his purse. It seems to me it was for proof that I left my girdle, says Fraích. On the truth of the sovereignty, says Fraích, say what thou didst about the ring. This shall not be concealed from thee, says Eileen. Mine is the ring which was in thine purse, and I knew it is Findavar gave it to thee. It is therefore I flung it into the dark pool. On the truth of thine honour and of thy soul, O Fraích, declare thou what way the bringing of it out happened. It shall not be concealed on thee, says Fraích. The first day I found the ring in front of the outer court, and I knew it was a lovely gem. It is for that reason I put it up industriously in my purse. I heard the day I went to the water the maiden who had lost it a-looking for it. I said to her, what reward shall I have at thy hands for the finding of it? She said to me that she would give a year's love to me. Isn't that fascinating? That if he found it, she would love him for a year. And just rewind here about what I was saying about the rings. Think about the ecliptic, you know. A year's love. A year of the sun's course through the ecliptic, forming a ring in the sky, a golden ring. At which point, the ring is complete, the cycle has ended and restarted, and the year is over, and you know that's the pledge. And brings to mind the old pledges from stories such as this about marriage, that you could marry somebody for a year, I think sometimes for a year and a day, wasn't it? You know. And in the Brehon laws, you know, that marriage could be annulled if after a year and a day there was any cause for annulment. It happened I did not leave it about me. I had left it in the house behind me. We met not until we met at the giving of the sword into my hand in the river. After that, I saw that the time thou openedst the purse and flungest the ring into the water. Basically, Fraích had seen Eileen opening the purse and taking the ring and throwing it into the black pool. I saw the salmon which leaped for it, so that it took it into its mouth. I wonder, is that related to Pisces catching the sun on its way around the sky? Perhaps. I'm always thinking astronomically about these stories. I then caught the salmon, took it up in the cloak, put it into the hand of the daughter. It is that salmon accordingly which is on the dish. The criticizing and the wondering at these stories begin in the household. I shall not throw my mind on another youth in Éireann after thee, says Findavar. Bind thyself for that, say Eileen and Maeve, and come thou to us with thy cows, to the spoil of the cows from Cuailnge. And when thou shalt come with thy cows from the east back, we shall wed here that night at once. And Findavar, I shall do that thing, says Fraích. They are in it then until the morning. Fraích sets about himself with his suite. He then bids farewell to Ailill and Maeve. They depart to their territories then. And that is the end of part 1 of the story. But fascinatingly, there's a condition put on the whole thing now, that Fraích is to join the Táin Bó Cuailnge when it happens. And when he does, he'll be allowed to marry Findavar. So Findavar has escaped the fate that her father had bestowed upon her. That was that she was going to die for apparently falling in love with the wrong man. But really, really fascinating stuff. And a crossover into so many other stories. I mean, obviously the beginning is set at Brú na Bóinne, although it is never specifically mentioned. Boand, Bayfind, Táin, possibly. All of the incidents at the Blackpool in the water, absolutely fascinating. The butchering of the monster, the catching of the ring by the salmon, and of course the catching of the salmon itself, a sort of miraculous thing, also associated with the story of the salmon of knowledge at Lynn Féach, the pool of Féach in the bend of the Boyne at Rossnaree, close to Cletchik. And the catching of the spear, the ring. Oh my God, it is so full of wonderful imagery. And I think we'll be deciphering that one for some time to come. Next week, in episode 108, we'll be dealing with part 2 of the story, because the story ain't over yet. It's only half over. Hope you've enjoyed that. I know there were a lot of... Megan Walters wants to know, do they ever get to be together? You have to wait until part 2 to find out. You could always do a Google search, and spoil the second half of the story for yourself. But who would want to do that, I have to say, when I read this for the first time recently, I was truly gripped. I was ferociously scribbling notes, and I read the whole thing because I just couldn't believe that I hadn't read this story before, and how truly wonderful it was. I mean, if you think about it in comparison to Tugal, Brunne da Durga, the destruction of da Durga's hostel, that is like a comedy, isn't it? And there's so much repetition and repetition and repetition. What do you see? And each compartment of da Durga's hostel is described, and the number of people in there, and descriptions of them all. And it's dragged out, and it's like it's for comedic effect. Táin Bó Fraích, on the other hand, has twists and turns like a play in several acts, and you're waiting. You're constantly waiting. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen? What is the fate of Findavar? What is the fate of Fraích? Initially Maeve and Ailill are talking about killing him, and then of course they relent. So fascinating stuff. Wonderful to be back with you all again. Fabulous company as always. Sorry that I haven't been able to answer your questions. It is more difficult when I'm reading than when I'm off the cuff, as it were. However, if there's anything really pressing that you must have answered, please feel free to reach out to me on email, and that's mythicalireland@gmail.com. I would ask you not to do one thing, and that is, please do not try to send me a message on my personal Facebook account. I've had an awful lot of personal messages from people who I do not know on my personal account, and I'd prefer if you dealt with. You can actually send messages on the Mythical Ireland account. You can message me there, which most people do, or by email at Gmail, mythicalireland@gmail.com. So part 2 next week, and then who knows from there. In the meantime, don't forget to spread the word. Tell your friends and family to come along to Live Irish Myths on Monday evenings, or depending on where you are in the world. If you're in the States, Monday afternoons. And if you're in the Far East or in Oceania, it's in the morning time. It's Tuesday morning already in Australia and New Zealand. Not sure that we saw too many there. An hour and a half, okay, the first 20 minutes was saying hello, which is an important part of what we do. In the meantime, I want you all to stay safe and stay healthy. Remember to keep washing your hands. I don't know, and I'm not going to comment on individual countries. I can only talk about Ireland. There were 10 cases today and no deaths. It is still here. and it is still in danger if we don't do the right thing. Danger of growing exponentially again. Keep washing your hands. Use hand sanitizer when you're outside, social or physical distancing. 2 meters is what's recommended. Now it is compulsory to wear a mask in all Irish retail stores. So if you go into the supermarket or any of the shops, you have to have a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. That alone will do great things to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Keep yourself safe and healthy. Don't forget to come back to us again on Live Irish Myths this time next week. In the meantime, don't also forget that there are daily updates on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page pretty much every day. There's very, very rarely a day goes by that I don't post something, whether it's a picture, text, a link, a blog post, or something that's going on in the world of Facebook that I've seen that is relevant to Mythical Ireland, photography as well. And I still have more pictures to share, of course. Don't forget that. Thanks all for joining. You've been very nice. A lovely evening to you. Call of sound sleep even, and slán go fóill. Banachtaí. Blessings to all of you. Come back next week, this time next week, for Live Irish Myths, episode 108. It's been wonderful. And somebody's asking a question on YouTube that I'm going to try and answer now when I'm finished. Take it easy, everybody. See you all next week. Good night. Bye-bye.